Failure, on the other hand, is actually a necessity in the process of moving forward and in the process of being able to understand and learn.
I've spent the last 20 years studying, teaching, and coaching people to find their greatness and take their lives to the next level. Along the way, it's become evident that emotions are at the root of everybody's successes and failures. Worry and fear are the enemies, and it's time to forge the armor and earn the tools to overcome the two things that could single-handedly destroy your future. Hi, my name is Michael Johnson, and I'm a life coach, a peak performance trainer, and I'm the emotions guy. It's time to take back control of how you feel, control of how you act, and control of how you experience life. It's time to become a lifer, a new breed of overachiever focused on living every minute to its fullest. We are responsible for how we feel, and no one and no thing can make us feel anything. Emotional mastery is our journey, and emotional education and intelligence is the key. We are lifers, and this is Magic for Life.
What's up, everybody? Michael Johnson here, and I just wanted to be on with you guys today to talk to you about failure. And failure is an interesting topic, right? Because by now, there's enough social media out there talking about the concept and idea of failure. And so you've probably heard to this point that failure isn't fatal. Failure, on the other hand, is actually a necessity in the process of moving forward and in the process of being able to understand and learn. So I want to backtrack for just a second and talk a little bit about this idea of a message, right? Your message. You always hear when you listen to people talk that they have a message for you. And so I want to split that word in half for a second and talk about your age, right? So the age, we'll just take them and reverse them because sometimes that helps with us remembering the roots of the word and what they were intended to mean, right? But the idea here is we have the age of your mess. The age of your mess is the things that you've been doing, the things that you've experienced through the years, the trials and the tribulations that you've gone through on your journey. Now, you could be 8 years old, or you could be 102. And in every scenario, you have had things that have challenged you. And let's start with the baby in the crib. The first challenge was, and the body knew this as a baby with no speaking or communicating skills, the body knew it was hungry. And so the body communicated to the mind, hey, you got to feed me or I'll die. That's not good. So you cry. It was your first form of communication. And in essence, it was the first failure, right? The first failure was, hey, I have to eat. Okay, maybe that wasn't first. Maybe it was air, right? Because we go back to Maslow's Hierarchy of Needs. And if you're not familiar with it, it's a pyramid. And it was brought about by a guy named Maslow, and he talked about a hierarchy of needs. What do we need in the world? We need, first and foremost, air. We can't live for more than minutes at the best without air. And then we can't live without water. We can't live for more than days without water. And then we can't live without food. We can't live without food for more than a few weeks without food. Dangerously, of course. And after that, those are sort of your primary needs. And then we go on to things like, shelter. We've got to protect ourselves. We've got to start to take care from the elements. And as we have figured out what we need to survive, to preserve life, we start realizing where we fall short, where we need more help. Hey, I'm hungry. So you cry. And when you cry as a baby, what happens? Your parents come back and they say, okay, let's give you some food. Or they maybe check your diaper, or they check to see if there's some element that is wrong, something that they can help cure. And so as that happens, you met your first challenge. And as a baby, you have no ability to get food yourself. So in essence, and we don't usually think of it this way, but in essence, it was the first failure. It was those first moments where you were not able to take care of yourself. And so you cried, and that was how you solved the solution. You didn't have a communication ability, so you cried. That was what you have built into you to be able to get something out that you want. Now, how does that apply? Well, as we get older, we experience things along the way. And each of the things that we experience are because we feel like we need something. And at the root of what it is that we do, at the root of our world, is our desire to feel something. So later on down the line from Maslow's hierarchy of needs was this thing called the 6 human needs, created by Anthony Robbins. And he basically took that a step further and said, hey, listen, if we have our primary needs taken care of that Maslow talked about, then from there, what we need to do is we need to take care of our human needs. And our human needs start to go into this realm of certainty and variety, love and significance, and then on to growth and contribution. And with those needs, as a human, we are constantly trying to fulfill those needs. Now, some of those needs are a paradox, meaning they counter each other. And that's sort of normal for our world. In our life, things have a dichotomy, a natural balance. You might have seen it in the symbol of the yin and the yang, right? There's a circle and it's white and it's black and it's sliced through the middle perfectly, and then the 2 dots in it represent the opposite, or the balance of that yin and the yang. And with this, that actually talks about a paradox or a dichotomy. And I know this is kind of heavy, but stay with me now. As you grow and as you continue to learn, what you're learning about is how to meet your needs, how to meet what you have to get out of the world in order to feel good, which means that the basis of what it is that we're trying to accomplish is to feel good. Now you're saying to yourself, well, wait a second. I got on to listen to this and I wanted to talk about or listen about how to deal with failure and why failure is good and how it works for us. Well, this is how it works. We go through experiences and we deem them personally successes or failures. Unfortunately, the word failure got a negative connotation along the way. And the truth be told, there really wasn't a negative or a positive when it came to the experiences that we were doing. It's just we needed some way to talk about it. And so we went, well, I wasn't successful. Well, what is that? Well, I failed at what I was doing. Oh, I can't believe you're a failure. I can't believe you failed at the thing you're doing. And yet, if you talk to anybody that is successful, anybody in any realm, in any arena, whether they're business people, whether they are dancers, whether they're artists, singers, musicians, it doesn't matter what you do. You, in order to become successful at the thing you did, needed to have experiences where you didn't attain the thing that you were trying to attain. And in order to learn how to do something well, you have to also know how to not do it well. So you go back to the age-old story about Edison learning to create the light bulb or light that wasn't a candle. And the story has it that he tried almost 1,000 times. I don't know what the real number is. I'm not sure many of us could know what the real number is, but there's lots of stories. He tried 999 times, and on the 1,000th time, he created the light bulb. Now, I want you to ask yourself, how many of you would keep trying that many times before you decided, well, you know, that's just not possible? Well, it's a different mindset. If you asked Edison, and the story has it, that when you ask him, he says, I didn't fail. I just found 999 ways not to create a light bulb. Now that's interesting, right? Because the mindset of it, the idea of it is that I'm not failing when I don't accomplish the thing that I set out to do, but I am learning exactly how not to do it. Now, some people are a little thicker than others. meaning it takes a little bit of time to get in and actually make it into your mind. And so those are the lessons, those are the failures. And so we have to learn from the experiences that aren't actually failures, they are actually the thing that we build our house on. But we have to change our mindset. We have to start to look at the things that have happened to start to understand, hey, that was necessary in order for me to understand how to do this. And I'd like to take it back to a dancer that I trained, a couple that I trained once upon a time. And through the years of teaching them, they worked up through the ranks and got themselves into a higher rank. And in their level, they were dancing at the highest rank. And as we worked, they moved up, but they weren't quite there. In their last season dancing in that rank, they came to me and they said, we want to do anything it takes. And we want to win this division. And we want to go on to dance as a professional. I said, okay, that's great. Let's do it. Let's put everything we can in. And as we worked, we took their experiences, we worked on what they needed to, and they rose through the ranks a little bit more. But when it was all said and done, they didn't hit the mark. They missed. You're thinking to yourself, this is a horrible story. They didn't actually accomplish their goal. They wanted to win. They wanted to be the champions. I thought you were going to tell me a story about how you trained a champion. Well, I have. I've trained many. But what happened here was they got to the end. They ended up in third. They didn't win the championship. They ended up in third. And it was very disheartening. And they were bummed and they missed the goal. And some might even say they failed. But they had the goal to go on to dance professionally. And we knew that ahead of time. When we started that year, that progress towards that championship. So we moved right along and we stayed the course. And we took that not as a failure, but as feedback as to what we missed on and the things that didn't quite happen the way we wanted to. And they went out to their first comp, I believe. It was either their first or their second competition right after as a pro, and they won as a professional, not in the rank below, but as a professional. Now that's interesting, isn't it? Because they took that information, they took the experience that they had, and they understood, and we learned from it. We took what we gained from that experience. And we went on and we kept persevering into the next thing. Now, persevering doesn't necessarily mean suffering. You do not have to suffer, but you do have to learn. And the idea of transitioning from an idea or a mindset of failure means that we are going to transition into feedback, right? It's the other F word. We don't want failure. We want feedback. And that's what we're shooting for. We're shooting for taking on a mindset where now the experiences that we have are feedback. They're feedback as to, hey, I put in a quarter so I could get out a gumball. But when I put in the quarter, I didn't get out a gumball. I got out a sweet tart. And I don't want a sweet tart. So I go back and look at the candy machine and I go, oh, I have to put in 50 cents to get out a gumball. A quarter will only get me out a sweet tart. Okay, now that is a very remedial anecdote or metaphor, but it's super simple. We are living every day. You're living right now. The things that have happened to you today alone really define this idea that, hey, I'm going to put something in and I'm going to take something out. And what are you putting in? And that is the question. And that is a whole other topic. What are you putting in so that you can get something out? And when you get that something out, are you looking at it and saying, hey, that matches what I wanted to put in for it? Or are you putting it in expecting to get something out and you get something different and you go, I'm a failure, I quit, I'm done. And that's not it. We have to learn what it is that we're putting in. We could talk about that for hours, but the focus today was to recreate an idea about failure. failure is not fatal. In fact, failure is just feedback. So we want to take that and run with it. I hope this helps. I want you to get into a mindset of feedback. You put something in, you got something out, evaluate if that's what you wanted to get out of it. If it wasn't, let's figure out something new to put into it. Ask your coaches, ask your mentors, ask the people that are closest on your team. Hey, I put this in and I expected to get this out, but I didn't. I got this other thing out. What can I put in different to get the thing out that I want? And that's great feedback, but it's not failure. Guys, I hope this helps. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time. Take care.
Happiness is a choice. Sadness is a choice. All emotions are a choice. Sometimes doing our emotions doesn't seem like it's our choice, but it is. You have control. You are the captain of your ship, and you must learn how to be the best captain you can be. Let me show you how. Pick up your free copy of my new book, Every Minute, at everyminutebook.com.